Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It's Friday, the 17th day of May, and today is National Pack Rat Day. I kind of feel like a pack rat lately. Digging through some stuff as we're getting ready to move. I'm like, wow, I got a lot of junk, don't I? National Cherry Cobbler Day, National Graduation Tassel Day, National Walnut Day, National Idaho Day, National Endangered Species Day, National Defense Transportation Day, also National Pizza Party Day, National Bike to Work Day, and it's NASCAR Day. So all of those happening on the 17th day of May. Also, I've got a guest coming up here in a bit. Going to visit with David K. Randall. He's a New York Times best-selling author of a book called Dreamland. Well, he's got a new book out called Black Death at the Golden Gate, The Race to Save America from the Bubonic Plague. So I'm excited to chat with him about that. Hopefully this is a period piece, and that's not happening now. I think it is. I think it's from like 100 years ago. But we'll be chatting with him later in the program. Thanks for listening on a Friday.
If you have a drug problem, don't let it ruin your life. You can be in treatment as soon as tomorrow, and you can start to get clean in as little as 7 days. Take the first step to get drugs out of your life at timeforrehab.com. Your insurance may cover everything, so you really have nothing to lose. Timeforrehab.com. Start your new life. You deserve it. Learn more at timeforrehab.com. That's timeforrehab.com.
Now, surveys and studies and such brought to you by WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. A new survey found that 1 in 2 Americans, so hey, there's 2 of us here, that would mean one of us, 1 in 2 Americans take prescription drugs. Not it.
That would be me.
Is that you?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is a pretty good survey. It's right.
It is right.
Do you take, how many prescriptions do you have?
Just one.
So do you take them?
I do every day. It's my
Okay,
blood. If I
good.
didn't, I would explode. It's my blood pressure.
I'm glad that you do. A lot of people, they'll get prescriptions and then they go, oh, I feel better. I'm going to quit taking them. No, you got to keep taking them. That's why you have it. That's why you feel better. I've got a link to that survey, by the way, in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com.
The average household has thousands of dollars in credit card debt. If you find yourself in that position and you're making minimum payments, you could be in debt for a long time. Make sure you have the very best card with the very best rates at bettercreditcards.net. We work with different banks and different credit card companies who put out their best offers to earn your business. See if we can help you get a better credit card at bettercreditcards.net. bettercreditcards.net. That's bettercreditcards.net.
And this is Your Brain on Drugs, brought to you by timeforrehab.com. Police arrested a 68-year-old by the name of Gary Wayne Anderson for DUI charges when he crashed his lawnmower into a police car. That's not good. This is not his first, by the way. He's had a couple other DUIs in the past. He told officers that he had been poisoned by police and demanded to be taken to the hospital.
That he was poisoned by the police.
Police reported that cocaine was in his system as well. And
Did we talk about a guy that ran something into a cop car? Because
I don't think this is the same dude. This, I believe, is a different guy altogether.
I was thinking that maybe the other one wasn't a lawnmower, but I don't know.
Yeah, this guy, I think there was another car that crashed into a police officer.
Yeah, because I remember telling you a story. My cousin did the exact same thing, and it was a guy she had just broken up with. It was so awkward.
Yeah, this dude here, he had cocaine and booze in his system. They say it's never a good idea to get behind the wheel drunk, even if that wheel is a little lawnmower. So there you go. Stay off those. And better yet, don't get drunk or stoned. That's even better. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Now, big screen, little screen, brought to you by ChannelSurferTV.com. Katie Holmes and Jamie Foxx posed together for their first ever couple photo, apparently. That was like a week ago at the Met Gala.
Okay.
I didn't know they were dating. Did you know that?
I don't know.
You have not gotten that memo either?
I've seen things, but I really don't care about either of them enough to pay attention.
So it's not one of those, you don't follow them? It's
No.
not like you're not a super fan of either?
You know, I think it's sad that people do that with celebrities.
Somewhere it's like, wow.
I just don't care enough
Why does it
about
matter
anybody.
to you so much?
I don't care enough about my family members. I don't know who most of my family members are dating and married to.
Tom Hanks is going to join Savannah Guthrie as the co-host of NBC News Today on the 23rd, which is, what is that, next Thursday, live from Indianapolis to promote the Indy 500. So Tom Hanks is going to be on. Why is Tom Hanks on to help promote the Indy 500? What does he have to do with the Indy 500?
Maybe he's going to be a race car driver.
I have no
now,
idea.
John.
I'm very confused by that. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
If you can't have a drink without it leading to another drink and another drink, maybe it's time to get help. There are programs designed to help take alcohol out of your life for good at timeforrehab.com. Don't let a drinking problem spill over into other areas of your life. Get help to quit drinking and start living the life you truly deserve at timeforrehab.com. Your insurance may cover everything. Learn more at timeforrehab.com. That's timeforrehab.com.
Now, your scoop of the day, brought to you by BetterCreditCards.net. The Vatican's official magazine published a piece about the secret sex life of nuns. What? This is from the Vatican. This isn't like some gossip column
They're
thing.
not supposed to have sex lives.
I don't know. I've got a link to the story if you want to read all about it.
That's
but
what nun means.
It
means none.
It doesn't mean some. It means none. I don't know. Taylor Swift, she's on the cover of a different magazine altogether, Entertainment Weekly, and it's one that just hit the newsstands. Tyra Banks is on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. So, by the way, I am not on the cover of any magazine.
I'm not either.
Would you ever want to be on the cover of a magazine? Is there one that you'd say, boy, I'd love to be on that one? Which one? Which magazine?
I don't know. This old house?
First of all, is that even a magazine?
I don't know. I know it's a TV show.
I was thinking Home and Garden or something, maybe, but Heidi, I don't even know where to go from there. Let's move on to this. Victoria's Secret is rethinking their annual fashion show, and they could take it off television. So I didn't know it was on television, but apparently it is. Meghan Markle's former husband. So she's remarried to the prince now, and they just had a kiddo. Yeah. Well, she was married before, and her former husband, Trevor...
She's just full of all sorts of baggage. I bet the royal family is not thrilled with
I'm sure
her.
They're not. But she was married to a guy by the name of Trevor. Well, he recently just got remarried in California last Saturday. So can you imagine being his new wife? Because, your ex-wife is now royalty. That would be kind of... I don't know. It's just kind of... I don't know how that would work out. Full House star John Stamos is selling his French-style California home. How much do you suppose he's asking for his place, Heidi?
I have no clue.
$7 million. It's a pretty good deal. I mean, it's a nice place. Remember last time we were there?
Yeah, it was very nice. Needed some updating.
We've never been there. So, Milwaukee Bucks fan bought Danica Patrick and a female friend of hers 2 beers during last Wednesday's game.
That's lovely.
But they didn't acknowledge her boyfriend, Aaron Rodgers, who was sitting right next to her. So this guy kept buying drinks for Danica and her female friend. Her boyfriend's Aaron. He just ignored him completely. So I think that's kind of funny. MTV has cut ties with teen mom star Janelle Evans when she refused to dump her boyfriend after he admitted to killing their family dog.
Oh, wow.
You can't even make up a story like that.
Wow.
But that is a true story. I just think
was the dog
is,
old and
I don't know.
put down? Because that's a different story.
Well,
if you put a dog down.
I don't know what the details are, but MTV is not happy with her for making bad decisions in life.
Well,
she was on the
show.
Teen Mom. I mean,
we're just really surprised at the bad decisions that you're making. We did not see that coming.
What were you guys expecting? I mean, I've not seen the show, and I know there are a lot of people that love that program. I guess it's a great show, but I've not seen it. Again,
want to watch it.
I've been told we shouldn't talk about all the shows we don't watch because we sound out of touch. I can't help it. I mean,
we have lives. We don't sit around and watch TV all the time.
Stuff. But apparently, this one, for whatever reason, she's no longer. They cut ties with her. And one last story here. A video has gone viral of the annual Chihuahua races in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Chihuahua races? Yeah. We should enter Mandy.
Now, that's one of the things I was going to ask. Do they have to be completely full-bred Chihuahua? Is that what it's called? Purebred? Purebred. What did I say?
Full-bred.
That's probably not a
That's
thing.
Close.
It sounds like something you'd order on the side of your breakfast. Oh, an egg with some full-bred on the side. So this video has gone viral, Chihuahua races. I was thinking the same thing you're thinking. We have a dog that is half Chihuahua.
Poodle, and she'd kick their butts because her legs are long like a poodle. So she'd have a better stride.
But I wonder if it has to be
But she's like 912, so that might hold her back.
She can't even jump off the sofa anymore. She's trying to... But maybe we could create a new one for the Chihuahua races, a Chihuahua crossed with a Greyhound.
That would be amazing.
They probably don't allow that. I've got a link to the video in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com.
Before you know it, Christmas will be here. Are you ready? If you plan to use a credit card while shopping, make sure you have the very best credit card for you. It's free to click around and see what we can do for you at bettercreditcards.net. We have options from many different banks and different credit card companies who put out their best offers to earn your business. See if we can help you get a better credit card at bettercreditcards.net. Bettercreditcards.net. That's bettercreditcards.net.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Our guest today is New York Times bestselling author David K. Randall. He's already got a great book out called Dreamland, another one called The King and Queen of Malibu, and he's got a brand new book out called Black Death at the Golden Gate, The Race to Save America from the Bubonic Plague. And Mr. Randall, when does this book take place? What time frame?
So right at the turn of the 20th century, there was another global outbreak of the bubonic plague. And you always hear about, in middle school and high school about the plague that devastated Europe. It's the same disease. It was just, 400 or 500 years later. About 10 million people died in China, 5 million people died in India, and the disease started spreading around the world. So there was the big fear in San Francisco and California that it was only a matter of time before the disease came to the U.S. for the first time. So the story I wrote was about the small team of doctors who were trying to prevent the disease from spreading outside of California and killing millions across the U.S.
Now think about 100 years ago. People didn't travel like they do today. If this happened today, it would have been catastrophic.
One reason why the plague spread so quickly back then was this was the start of, the steamship age, where, suddenly people could move faster than they ever had before. And then one of the big dangers was that if someone did get infected in San Francisco and then they got onto a train heading east, then suddenly, the disease could spread across the continent within the span of 6 or 7 days, something it could never have done, in centuries before. Now, about 7 people get the plague here in the U.S. It's still here, it's still around, and there are global outbreaks now in places stretching from Mongolia to Africa.
So let's talk about not only the time that this takes place, but the place in San Francisco. Why this time? Why this place?
What happened was plague reemerged in Asia in 1870 or so, and then started spreading through. It devastated Hong Kong, and hospitals there were reporting a 95% death rate. Because of trade, it reached the U.S. for the first time, and it reached Chinatown and San Francisco. And after they identified the first victim there, it suddenly became there was a conspiracy between city officials, the governor, and the editors of the state's largest newspapers to conceal the truth of the plague, and they put millions of people's lives at risk.
And I've got a copy of your book in front of me, and I'm looking in here, and I see that there's a person named Wong Shoot King, that he was kind of the early indicator that we might have a problem.
Exactly. So the big fear among doctors was that they found the body of Wong Chuk King. They saw the telltale bubo, which is a swollen gland, and the groin that's dark, and that gives bubonic plague its name. As soon as they find his body, they all instinctively jump back in fear because they know that this is a disease that can kill everyone they love within 48 or 72 hours. So they quarantine all of Chinatown, but then at the same time, they don't know whether this is the first person who's ever developed plague in the U.S., or this is just the first person they found. So it almost becomes a cat and mouse game. How did they chase the disease down, and how, at the same time, do they prevent other people from catching it?
And, David, they must have been somewhat successful. Otherwise, I think it'd be a whole different story that we're talking about today. And thank goodness it was a good story, and you've got that captured in the new book, Black Death at the Golden Gate, The Race to Save America from the Bubonic Plague. Congratulations, by the way, on the early success this book is already having.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to have gotten, been very happy to hear the reviews so far. What I think people like so far is that it really tells the story of science that most people don't know of, and there's pretty strong personalities that you can see what they did and why they did it. At the same time, you can know how hard it was. It was one of those, we had the fortunate accident of history that we were able to contain this disease, Or if you see other places like Hong Kong, they had outbreaks of plague well up into the 1920s or so.
The book is available right now. It's called Black Death at the Golden Gate. David, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us today.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Again, our guest today has been New York Times bestselling author David K. Randall. He's got the book Dreamland, another book, King and Queen of Malibu, and his latest book is out right now. It's called Black Death at the Golden Gate, The Race to Save America from the Bubonic Plague. I've got a copy of this book here in the studio that we're going to give away, so we'll have that on our Facebook page. Also, I've got a link to find the book in the show notes at johnandheidishow.com.
If you have a drug problem, don't let it ruin your life. You can be in treatment as soon as tomorrow, and you can start to get clean in as little as 7 days. Take the first step to get drugs out of your life at timeforrehab.com. Your insurance may cover everything, so you really have nothing to lose. Timeforrehab.com. Start your new life. You deserve it. Learn more at timeforrehab.com. That's timeforrehab.com.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
America Online, also known as AOL, they were once responsible for half of all CDs produced in I think it was the 90s.
Is that
when
still
this
a
happened.
thing?
They're still around.
Are they?
Yeah,
What do they
not the
do?
same though. I get emails from people with AOL accounts still, very rarely, and it's usually a person who's a little older.
Right.
And I read a study one time that said that if you have an AOL account, there's like a 95% chance you're over the age of 60. It's like, oh, that's
Maybe
true.
we should mix that up a little bit and get ourselves an AOL account.
No, not going to do that. When they first started giving away internet CDs in the mail, they were spending $300 million to produce them in the 1990s. That's when they peaked. The early online giant was producing a whopping 50% of all CDs being made in the world at the time. So there you go. That is definitely a fun fact for this Friday. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
The average household has thousands of dollars in credit card debt. If you find yourself in that position and you're making minimum payments, you could be in debt for a long time. Make sure you have the very best card with the very best rates at bettercreditcards.net. We work with different banks and different credit card companies who put out their best offers to earn your business. See if we can help you get a better credit card at bettercreditcards.net, bettercreditcards.net. That's bettercreditcards.net.
Now, fear this. Time for fun with phobias. Gymnophobia. I think we might have talked to this before, and I remember this making sense to me, but it didn't make sense instantly. Gymnophobia. What do you think that is? Fear of what?
Gymnasts?
No. Fear of being naked or nakedness.
Oh.
I can see that because if you're at the gym and there's all the naked people walking around, I'm not afraid of being naked, but here's what I don't like. When I'm sitting on a bench putting my shoes on, some naked dude walking right in front of me and standing there and wanting to chat, and I'm like, can you put a towel on? Or, I mean,
does that happen to you?
it does.
Really?
And it's usually older gentlemen who
Women are a
they
little
just
more
wander
modest
around and they're naked.
in the
like
dressing
reading
room.
the paper in the corner.
Yeah, we don't do that at all.
I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. Thanks for listening to this Fun with Phobias.
If you can't have a drink without it leading to another drink and another drink, maybe it's time to get help. There are programs designed to help take alcohol out of your life for good at timeforrehab.com. Don't let a drinking problem spill over into other areas of your life. Get help to quit drinking and start living the life you truly deserve at timeforrehab.com. Your insurance may cover everything. Learn more at timeforrehab.com. That's timeforrehab.com.
Now, some weird news brought to you by WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com. What's worse than losing your AirPods? Those are the little earbud things that you stick in. Well, it would be finding one. Instead of losing it, he found it in his belly. A Taiwanese man. He was apparently sleeping, and like the not iPod, that would be a whole different thing. AirPod slipped out of his ear and fell into his mouth, and he swallowed it. He had no clue. The next day, he's looking for it, and there's a thing where there's a feature called Find My AirPod. So you push that and it beeps. Well, he's hearing the beeping and he's like, am I sitting on it? Where is it? And it's like, oh, it's in my stomach.
Oh, no.
He swallowed it. So he went to the hospital to find out. They said, yeah, we can pump it. We'll see. They were scheduling all this. Well, the next day, it came out on its own.
It emerged?
Yeah. So he, I can't even imagine. And it says here, he cleaned the thing off and he used it again.
Ew.
So I need to go.
Yeah, I think it'd be gone.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
I'm going to go sanitize. I'm going to get some hand cleaner, everything right now. I just feel so dirty even just reading that story. That's weird news, and it really is weird news. Brought to you by WeirdGiftOfTheDay.com.
John and Heidi.
Now, your moment of duh, brought to you by FunkyMonkeyShirts.com. A Florida man might not want to take Snapchat video suggestions from his nephew anymore. He got himself in a whole mess of trouble. Sarasota, Florida, Brian Slocum went into a pawn shop on a Tuesday evening with his infant son in a car carrier, approached the clerk, the 43-year-old single dude, put his car carrier up on the counter, spun it around with the baby in it, and said, so, this is what I got. I know there's no one under 18 in here, but he's barely used, 7.5 months old. What do you think he's worth? So you can hear them on the video, talking to this guy. Anyway, he got himself in a lot of trouble. It was just a joke. But the pawn shop actually called the police. So they reached out to this guy after the video was all over social media. He reached out to say, hey, it was just a joke. I was just kidding. It was a prank. My nephew suggested that I do this silly video and post it on Snapchat. Anyway, this one went really wrong, and he got himself in a whole heap of trouble.
Wow.
So don't do that. Keep in mind, when you're doing a silly prank, make sure that the prank is not something that's going to cause all kinds of problems. There have been people who have been, really wounded and hurt badly, and then other people like this, it just didn't think it through. So a prank is one thing, but don't take it too far. Otherwise, you might end up as today's moment of duh.
Before you know it, Christmas will be here. Are you ready? If you plan to use a credit card while shopping, make sure you have the very best credit card for you. It's free to click around and see what we can do for you at bettercreditcards.net. We have options from many different banks and different credit card companies who put out their best offers to earn your business. See if we can help you get a better credit card at bettercreditcards.net. Bettercreditcards.net. That's bettercreditcards.net.
Now, these three things. Heidi, tell me, what do these three things have in common? Matchbooks, magazines, and beds. We actually mentioned something about magazines earlier, and it was this part of the magazine we were talking about. Matchbooks, magazines, and beds, they all have what?
Covers.
Covers. Good job. Oh. You had a very blank look on your face.
I was going to say fire.
Magazines fire.
No.
Beds fire.
Well, I watched a movie in the 80s called The Burning Bed.
Oh, yeah.
And the bed was on fire. And so I was trying in my mind, okay, how does magazines fit into that?
That doesn't.
But it didn't.
I burned some magazines once. That was a bad idea, by the way.
Yes, you did. So, yes, fire would have worked.
So it works for us. But it was covers, Heidi. They all have covers. That's today's These Three Things.
John and Heidi.
This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always like to wrap things up around here with good news, and I think this is good news. It comes your way courtesy of ripitgloves.com, promo code radio. That's RIPIT gloves.com. Take a listen to this. A 19-year-old dude working at a construction site is a hero because he used a crane to rescue dozens of people from an apartment fire. How cool is that?
That is cool. Wow.
There's some images here. You see this? I'm going to turn this.
Where did he get the crane?
Well, he was working. That's what he was doing. So a 19-year-old Chinese construction worker is hailed as a hero after he saved 14 people from a burning apartment building.
That's a good day.
Yeah. He was on a construction site when he heard screams, saw smoke coming from a nearby structure. He rushed over to investigate, saw this apartment was on fire, and there were dozens of people trapped on the third floor. Well, thanks to his skill with a crane, he was able to crane all 14 people from the fire using this lift.
That's awesome. What a guy.
That is so cool. So I think that's amazing. And, you know, he could have very easily just stood there and filmed it like everybody else was. You know, people stand... Nowadays, when tragedies happen, people stand there with a phone filming it instead of helping.
Well, because you can get sued for helping, and it's a sad time.
Here's the thing.
You have to worry about that.
If there's somebody that needs help, I'm glad there are heroes like this young man who went and helped rather than just pointing a camera phone at it and watching it.
He probably doesn't have those same kind of frivolous lawsuits in China
I
that
hope
we
not.
have here.
Boy.
So he probably doesn't have to worry about it.
But he
Because if
helped.
that crane would have busted while he was trying to get those people out and somebody fell from the crane, in the United States, they would have gone after him. He tried to help, but they would have gone after the guy driving the crane.
All I know is saved 14 lives. Absolutely awesome. I've got a link to the story in the show notes, and you can find that at johnandheidishow.com. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday.